Real Chat Episode 16, Jurassic Park.
I own an island off the coast of Costa Rica. I've spent the last 5 years setting up a kind of biological preserve.
King Kong?
Welcome to Jurassic Park. Dinosaurs and man, two species separated by 65 million years of evolution. Possibly have the slightest idea.
You feel that?
What to expect.
Hold on to your butts.
All major theme parks have problems.
But John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists.
Must go faster.
An adventure 65 million years in the making. Everybody, welcome to episode 16 of Real Chat, a podcast that promises week in, week out, the real world as we know it. Today we're looking at one of the most important and influential motion pictures of all time. A monumental achievement in every sense of the word. It pioneered the way visual effects are seen in movies to this day, spawning a successful franchise that's getting a new entry 22 years after it began. Today Real Chat is retrospectively reviewing Steven Spielberg's 1993 mega-blockbuster, Jurassic Park. My name's Adam Stolfo, and I'm joined here as usual by co-host Brose Avard. Brose, how you doing?
I'm very, very well. How are you guys? You all good?
Very well indeed, mate. Nice. Very well. Yes. So, Jurassic Park fan, Brose?
This is a film I didn't see until it was released in the 3D version. I saw that at IMAX, and then I watched it again for this podcast.
It's really surprising it took you that long.
I completely and utterly avoided this film. It's a big genre film, and it just no interest in it whatsoever.
So that big blockbuster element to it
I don't see
put you off back in.
Well, there was a period of time where I wouldn't see a film just because I was told I should go and see it.
Okay.
I definitely don't watch blockbusters because just for the sake of it. It's a bit different now, I guess, the cinema landscape in terms of, blockbusters are kind of all that matters now. That's all cinema has become. And with the way that I can now consume film at home, I tend to go to the cinema for the blockbusters and stay at home to watch anything else. So, yeah, there was the period of time where when this film came in 93, I was seeing animations, I was seeing Woody Allen films, I was seeing more intimate, more interesting films to me than blockbusters. And there's a whole bunch of films from this period. Jurassic Park, Wayne's World's around this time. I didn't see that at the cinema. There's a whole bunch of films that I probably should have seen, but I didn't.
And a big welcome over here to Andrew McCaskill. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm very well. I'm just stunned by the revelations there from Brose. As a late comer to the film, just want to ask if you were into dinosaurs when you were a kid.
No, not even vaguely interested in dinosaurs.
I think that's
I was into the Muppets.
Yeah. This film was massive for me. I remember seeing it at the cinema when I was, I would have been 13 and the like, and it was huge. It was a revelation. It was like, I came out of the cinema, I think similar to the way I came out of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, thinking that it was the greatest film I've ever seen at the time.
Yeah.
But, are you a Jurassic Park fan, Andrew, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's got a real fond spot in my heart because I was just at that perfect age for it. It was just, I was 13, so it was just, it came out and it was just, it was a time when huge blockbusters were just incredible. It was an incredible, Terminator 2 came out. Was it that same year?
2 years before.
2 years before. They were epic films, and obviously the technology had a lot to do with that, and it was a very exciting time to be a kid watching movies.
Yep, definitely. So this is the 14th episode of our Vintage Vault retrospective series, a conscious effort to tie in selected shows with something of relevance to the present. And with a new fourth entry to the franchise, Jurassic World, coming out in June this year, I'm sure you'll all agree that there's no better time to look at the Jurassic Park franchise. But let me ask you this, guys. Are you excited at all?
I'm not very interested in that, I must say. I feel like the first film really nailed everything it needed to achieve. I've seen the second one, and that still haunts me to this day in how vile it is.
So you're quite nervous about having to rewatch it as part of our retrospective series.
I will be nervous when that does pop up again.
It's almost like doing another assignment for him.
It is. It's very much like The Assignment.
But no, this film, like the new one, I could go in there and it could blow me away, but I haven't got huge expectations because ultimately people are going to be running away from dinosaurs again, and what can we see that we haven't already seen done so well before?
Looks like there's going to be some mutated dinosaur or something like that, but that's what they have to do by the time you get to the
things you do to draw people in these days.
I
think it's interesting too because Spielberg said from the outset with this film he didn't want to create a monster film. It wasn't a classic monster film. The dinosaurs were animals. They were brought back to life and they behave like animals. He kind of gets away from that a little bit with the raptors. But the problem with this film becoming a franchise then is it's only going to become a monster film franchise after the first one. It's going to contradict Spielberg's original aims for the films, and I haven't seen any of the sequels, and I couldn't care less for the fourth one, except that I love Chris Pratt, and I think Chris Pratt is hilarious, and with Guardians of the Galaxy he proved that he can be a male lead in an action series as well. But the problem with someone like Chris Pratt and Hollywood is that now that he's done well in comedies and he's done well in Guardians of the Galaxy and he's going to be in Jurassic World, they just think that Chris Pratt's the solution to everything. Like there's talk of rebooting Indiana Jones with Chris Pratt. It's like, no, I'm sure there are other people that could. Like, do we need Chris Pratt? Can't do everything. He's got stuff. So putting him into this film is kind of their hope. They're going to reboot with Chris Pratt now as the male lead. And Jurassic Park's, is Sam Neill in the sequels?
He's in 3.
He's not in the second one.
No.
So there's already a sense that this series doesn't rely on a strong male lead anyway. But I think they're thinking Chris Pratt might be that guy that they can hang 3 more films off the back of.
If you've seen a clip of him in the film, he is huge. Like he's just this muscle-bound hero guy, and it's kind of like it's almost like a comic book.
Yeah. I love Chris Pratt, and I love he's very humble and self-deprecating, and I've got no problems with him. But just that idea that Hollywood thinks he's the it guy for franchises, and just let him do Guardians, and I guess he's doing Jurassic Park now. Just leave it at that. We don't need him in every bloody film. What, he's going to play Batman in the next Batman film, or what? He's going to play Spider-Man in the reboot of that? He's going to play all of the Avengers in the next Avengers film? Just leave Chris Pratt alone to carry on his career. But let's see. I'm curious to see how
a lot of weight of expectation
there is, but I'm curious to see how he handles this film, and if he brings. I don't think the film's going to be interesting, but if he can add something interesting, then it's probably a film worth checking out.
So, initial thoughts on Jurassic Park. We'll focus all our attention on this first movie. So, initial thoughts, guys. First time you saw it, obviously, Brose's story is a little different to Andrew and I. But can you remember the first time you saw it, Andrew, and the effect that this film had on you as a 13-year-old?
Yeah, it just had all the elements that you want when you're a 13-year-old kid. It just, the effects were incredible. And it was a lot about the groundbreaking effects, obviously. But I just had the Spielberg's direction is just so strong. His skills are at the top of their game here. And even though it does, looking at it now, feel like it's kind of not one that he was passionately involved in. It doesn't seem like it's a passion project. It was more, well, apparently it wasn't a passion project because Universal said that he could make Schindler's List if he made this film first. Yeah. So there is that element. But still, he's just got the way he uses a camera and tells a story is incredible. John Williams' score, which we'll get onto, all those elements when you're a kid that are so exciting that you've grown up loving are nailed in this film.
Bruce, your story would be a little bit different considering that 2012 was the first time that you saw the movie.
Yeah, I guess that's when it was at IMAX, I guess.
Yeah, so what are your initial thoughts now that you have it was a couple of years ago?
What I liked about this film is that I had very low expectations for Jurassic Park, and I'd never seen it. It was released at IMAX. I'm like, okay, there's a good chance to see it in a good format and an exciting way. And I love the IMAX screen. And I haven't seen enough films or feature films on the IMAX screen. It doesn't even need to be 3D for me. I just love watching a film on a screen that big with that sound system. It's great. So I thought this is a chance to see the film for the first time, possibly the best way you can see it. And there's no better way to see a classic film than, the best possible version. But I had very low expectations. I didn't realize what as I mentioned at the top of the show, the Spielberg not wanting to make it a monster film, I just thought it was a monster film, especially once the sequel started rolling out. I assumed it was just big, bad, nasty dinosaurs and people running away from them, which I had no interest in. So there are elements of the film that surprised me, and that's what I enjoyed about it. You know, it is there's an adult subtext to the whole film, even though it is a PG, kind of kiddie-friendly, family-friendly film. All the dinosaur theory and stuff that's mentioned mainly by Sam Neill's character, a lot of that is relevant and new dinosaur theory that wasn't commonly appreciated at that time in paleontology or whatever. So the fact that Spielberg went out of his way to teach us that stuff was really nice. And then having that Sam Neill character there, just the idea that someone's life is dinosaurs and then experiencing the park is a really nice element. Obviously this came from Crichton's book as well, but yeah, there were some really nice adult elements to this film I wasn't expecting. I was expecting a little 20-minute first act and then just dinosaurs running rampant.
Yeah. A lot of the human story is what makes this film.
That's
unique.
what makes the film so good.
Yeah, particularly Sam Neill's relationship with the kids, how that evolves.
What a great story arc that as well. Yeah, he starts the film hating all kids, and then at the end there they're cuddled up to him, and it's just some really beautiful moments, and he bonds with the kids through dinosaurs. It's great. And who better be stuck in the park with than a dinosaur expert?
This is a Universal Pictures and Amblin Entertainment release. It was released on the 11th of June 1993 in the US and the 2nd of September 1993 in Australia. And it was shot primarily in Hawaii and also California in the US. And the budget, which was very, very, very high for 1993, $63 million.
Yeah.
But listen to this. Grossed $1,029,153,000 worldwide.
That's insane. Wow.
Making it the 15th highest grossing film of all time.
That is impressive. Yeah. And it just speaks volumes of, it's a clever idea for him to make this film a PG film. It's a very family-friendly film, but it's an intelligent film as well. So I guess, the greater your appeal, the broader your appeal, the more money you're going to make. And if you can do that without creating a hokey, cheesy mess, then you're in front.
Yeah, the world wanted this film at this particular time. It gave everybody exactly what they wanted. And then the word of mouth spread, and it just got bigger.
I just sat at home refusing to watch it.
Yes.
Well, like you think about it, like dinosaur films, they came out of nowhere. Like there's been nothing really no one's really tackled it. Back in the 50s and 60s with those clunky effects.
With the Harryhausen stuff and the stop motion stuff. Although on the Blu-ray for this, they show a bit of the 1933 King Kong with the stop motion. Some of that stuff looks extraordinary. It still looks really good. And they're using that as an example of, here's how it used to be done. It's like, well, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Well, I got to ask you this now, Brose, as someone who waited to see it. If you could go back in time, would you tell your younger self to go see Jurassic Park in 1993?
No, I don't think so. I don't feel like I missed out on anything. I wasn't a dinosaur kid. As good as this film is, it's got plenty of flaws as well. But yeah, no, I don't feel like I missed anything.
So this film was directed by Steven Spielberg, and this is the first Spielberg film we've looked at here on Real Chat.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So that's significant. But where the hell do you start with Spielberg? He's undoubtedly one of the most influential film personalities in the history of film, perhaps Hollywood's best-known director, and one of the wealthiest filmmakers in the world as well. Spielberg has countless big-grossing, critically acclaimed credits to his name as producer, director, and writer. And the three-time Oscar winner's highlights include, but are certainly not limited to, Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1941, the 4 Indiana Jones movies, E.T., The Color Purple, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, AI, Minority Report, Munich, War of the Worlds, War Horse, and Lincoln.
He also executive produced Back to the Future.
Thank you, Brose. Thank you very much. I was wondering how you're going to get that in there to this one. What are some of your thoughts on his quite astounding legacy and influence on modern cinema, and also his work here on this film?
It's a weird thing for me with Spielberg. I don't love Spielberg. I can get really cynical about him very quickly because he is a populist and he does make broad films. That being said, there's nothing wrong with popular films and there's nothing wrong with broad films, but that's kind of all he does. And sometimes he does it very well, and he is an expert storyteller. But for me, Spielberg he's a great director. The history's going to see him as a great director. But to me, he's not a great director because he will let things go in favor of entertainment. And I think if he tightened that window a little bit, or tightened that element of his filmmaking, I'd appreciate him more.
Give me an example.
Well, this film is a great example because there are so many inaccuracies all the way through this film. For example, velociraptors are the size of a turkey, and he has them at 6 feet tall. And essentially that's because there were dinosaurs similar to the raptors, but their names were clunkier, and Velociraptor was a lot easier for the characters to say. And the Velociraptors are a lot more intelligent and a lot more capable than they would ever have been for story reasons. And I get frustrated because you don't need to do that. You don't need to be inaccurate in that way to create drama, because you can do it without doing that. And it's more intelligent to find a way around it. I just find it a little bit frustrating with Spielberg that he is willing to drop realism for a moment. And by and large, obviously a lot of cinema does that. For some reason, Spielberg, when he does it, it takes me out of the film, and it bugs me. It really bugs me. But I think that's indicative of his whole career.
Yeah, I mean, I've grown up with his films, and, you know, there was a certain period where he was just kicking goals, rather. He was just, you know, one after another of just brilliant filmmaking, incredibly exciting movie-going experience, and probably a big reason for why I love films. You know, I was introduced to his films and growing up with them, so I'm a big fan. I think, you know, obviously he has matured into a different kind of filmmaker in the last 15, 20 years. I mean, I think this film is pretty much the swan song for a certain chapter of his career, which was, you know, a lot of it was escapism and pure fantasy, and then he went on to do a lot more historical pieces and very
a lot more personal. His films became a lot more personal not long after this. You're right.
Yeah,
it was like Munich and Schindler's List, and
adult content
really reflected his personality and his interests, rather than, I guess this is part of his nostalgia group, because he often talks about this film and Indiana Jones films being, you know, the serial, the Saturday morning serial kind of shows, the adventure things, the genre films. More of his nostalgia as opposed to his. Yeah, you're right.
It's interesting that a filmmaker does change like that. Like he was so good at nailing that childlike imagination and sense of escapism and wonder, and then he's, you know, comes on and makes Saving Private Ryan, which is this gritty, brutal sense of reality of a horrible time in history, and he wants to focus on those things. There's still there's strong themes throughout all of his films, but yeah, how a director just takes stock and shifts gears is interesting.
Brose is often referred to me as someone driven by nostalgia. So
hey, and I'm driven by nostalgia as well. I've got.
I think we all are.
Yeah. But,
I think it's people that deny their nostalgia or deny that I don't know, just become a bit boring. It's nice to reflect on and appreciate. Your
but I'd say that, like, you know, my favourite Spielberg films would be the ones that we'd look upon with that nostalgic sort of like hindsight. You know, so like, you know, Jaws, Close Encounters, the
Indiana Jones,
the first 3 Indiana Jones films, and then some of his sci-fi that he looked at a little bit later in his career, like Minority Report as well, was kind of interesting.
Yep.
AI was unnecessary, but yeah, Minority Report picked it up again.
Yes, so, but of course, I wouldn't have my favourite movie of all time without this man.
Absolutely.
So I can't deny his
and not that we want to get into
legacy.
We don't want to get into it too much detail now, but Back to the Future wouldn't have happened without Spielberg and without his confidence in the two Bobs and without his involvement in the pre-production and the writing of that film. There wouldn't be a Back to the Future. So, like, I can't hate this guy because he has made some great films, and I don't hate him. But he's not only the films he's directed, but the stuff that he's produced and encouraged, and even someone like J.J. Abrams. He's been, you know, Spielberg and J.J. Abrams have worked together. He's kind of mentored him a little bit. And also Cody Diablo, who did Juno, worked with Steven Spielberg on the United States of Tara. Like, he is really good at finding talent, encouraging talent.
Did he have anything to do with Super 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
him and Abrams.
Because I still haven't seen it, but I've heard that it has a very, like, you know, it has a Spielberg feel through that movie. Like,
very much so.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like a tribute to a certain time in movie history, when Spielberg was dominating.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've had a few people talk to me about that film. Surprised that I haven't seen it, and one year I've had, like, you know, oh, you've got to see it, Adam. How can you not have seen that? And then the other year I've got, like, it's awful. So,
and you know, who can forget that Spielberg was, of course, the hero of Dawson from Dawson's Creek. So,
that's a very important factoid.
Which I must mention made me like Steven Spielberg just a fraction less.
Now, Michael Crichton wrote the novel that this screenplay, Jurassic Park, is based on. David Cope wrote the screenplay along with Michael Crichton as well, apparently. Now, before Crichton's novel was published, 4 studios put in bids for the film rights. With the backing of Universal Studios, Spielberg acquired the rights for $1.5 million.
Wow.
Before publication in 1990, so this is 3 years before the film came out. Crichton was hired for an additional $500,000 to adapt the novel for the screen. David Cope wrote the final draft, which left out much of the novel's exposition and violence and made numerous changes to the characters. Michael Crichton originally conceived a screenplay about a graduate student who recreates a dinosaur. He continued to wrestle with his fascination with dinosaurs and cloning until he began writing the novel Jurassic Park. Even before publication, Steven Spielberg learned of the novel in October 1989 while he and Crichton were discussing a screenplay that would become the television series ER. Spielberg considered that what really fascinated him was that Jurassic Park was a really credible look at how dinosaurs might someday be brought back alongside modern mankind, going beyond a simple monster movie, which is a way that you described looking at the film as well, Brose. So,
absolutely. And I think that's one of the strengths of the film too,
yeah. Before the book was published, Crichton demanded a non-negotiable fee of $1.5 million, as well as a substantial percentage of the gross.
Wow.
Jeez.
Warner Brothers and Tim Burton, Columbia Pictures and Richard Donner, and 20th Century Fox and Joe Dante bid for the rights, but Universal Studios eventually acquired them in May 1990 for Spielberg. After completing Hook, Spielberg wanted to film Schindler's List, which you brought up before, Andrew. Music Corporation of America, then Universal Pictures parent company, President Sid Sheinberg, gave a green light to the film on the condition that Spielberg made Jurassic Park first. The director later declared that by choosing a creature-driven thriller, I was really just trying to make a good sequel to Jaws on land.
I mean, after Hook, Spielberg was lucky to get any film made. So, and Jurassic Park's the right choice.
Yes,
I think. Definitely.
Yeah,
That's the testament to his name. Hook, as crappy as it was, still made a shitload of money, didn't it? It was huge success. So he doesn't really rarely make a mistake on the box office.
Yeah. Just go into a fantasy world for a minute and try to imagine Jurassic Park directed by Tim Burton.
Yeah, let's imagine that.
A lot of goths in there, wouldn't there?
Well, what's
T-Rex.
what's Tim Burton done at this point then? He's done Batman in 89. Okay.
Yep.
And then Edward Scissorhands yet to come.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's basically off the back of Batman. Tim Burton might have directed Jurassic Park. Like, that's...
Yeah.
What a different career that could have been for Burton.
I know.
The anti-blockbuster Burton himself. Yeah.
And what about Crichton as well? Like, do you guys know much about like his other work or anything like that? Like his other novels or anything like that? Or
No, I haven't read
is he most famous for this now?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely from an adaptation sake, but
yeah,
there was obviously after this film was a lot of a rush to get a lot of his books made into films with varying results. I think one of them was Rising Sun, I think, which features a Sean Connery in Japan. But no one remembers that film.
Is he playing a Japanese man with a Scottish accent?
Wish he was
in that film. So yeah, after Jurassic Park, he wrote obviously the sequel and then Disclosure. So not much more than that.
Yeah. Now, the cinematographer of Jurassic Park is Dean Cundey. Now, we got into him in quite a bit of detail with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But in regards to this film specifically, what do you think of his work, Andrew?
Again, it's hard. I mean, Cundey is a huge talent, obviously. The films that he's done are classics of cinema history. And he's come on board this. He's not a regular collaborator of Spielberg's, but it works equally as good. And I think a lot of it is Spielberg's use of camera. You know, he really does command the use of the camera. And there's a lot of beautiful camera work in this film, which is really subtle and really adds tension and foreboding. Just the way it's positioned, you know, in certain suspenseful sequences is just very clever. And lots of fluid one camera movements that just kind of give you information and then keep the film progressing.
Yeah. There's footage on the Blu-ray, behind the scenes footage of the camera, so you can watch the camera movements, and some of them are spectacular. Like when they pull the Jeep up to the Brachiosaurus, and it starts on Sam Neill, and then Sam Neill stands up, and the camera goes with him, and the camera movements are beautiful. They're like ballet or something. Like just watching the camera move was amazing.
Yeah.
Like not even seeing what the camera's seeing, but just watching from the outside what the camera was doing.
I think that is almost his
so
real
fluid.
skill, Spielberg. Like the way he moves the camera, the positions, in action sequences especially, is quite unique in how he does that.
And he'll do long shots and make them dynamic. And,
he'll give you all the information you need and all the
takes.
emotion you need in one fluid movement.
Yeah, it's spectacular.
That whole reveal of the park itself and that whole introduction sequence is phenomenal. The photography when the storm arrives and the entire night scene with the T-Rex attack and everything else, and you know, Cundey's like on fire.
It's interesting with Cundey. You're saying that he's not a regular collaborator with Spielberg. I've watched most of the extras, if not all the extras on the Blu-ray, and they don't mention Cundey at all. Originally, the dinosaurs were going to be a combination of puppets and stop motion, and then later it became puppets and CGI, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But I wonder if Cundey was hired because of Who Framed Roger Rabbit and his ability to be able to frame shots without thinking in terms of setting up where the character would be that's not there like he did in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like, I wonder if that is the reason, but that's not mentioned. He's not mentioned really at all.
Yeah, well, I think he also did, in the same year, I think, Death Becomes Her.
Yeah, right.
Which
Similar
is
effects.
Very CGI heavy, and that was Zemeckis as well. So
It was.
So there's obviously these guys know each other very well, and they collaborate. So, and Cundy's proved himself as a deft-handed.
Well, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is Spielberg's got his hand in on that as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
So he's a very talented DOP, and not to forget his work with John Carpenter in the in the 70s and early 80s. He's exceptional.
Let's talk about the iconic cast from this movie, starting with Australia's own Sam Neill, who plays Dr. Alan Grant in the film. The film portrays a very different personality than that of the novel. In the films, Dr. Grant has an introverted personality and doesn't like children, which apparently was the complete opposite to the way that he was in the book.
Oh, right.
My
So
understanding.
a real strong father figure in the book.
Yep. And obviously throughout the course of the film, he warms to the two children accompanying him, Tim and Lex. This was done because Spielberg wanted to provide a source of dramatic tension that did not exist in the novel, so in regards to the film, it was probably a good creative decision, as it turns out. But, what do you guys think of Sam Neill's portrayal of Alan Grant in this film?
I love Sam Neill. I just find him incredibly charismatic. I find him masculine but intelligent. Every film that he's in, I just gravitate towards him on screen, and I think he's great. It's kind of weird casting in this film. He's not a big blockbuster actor, and Spielberg talked about how he wanted to not so much unknown actors, but he wanted good, solid actors. He wanted actors, guys, people that knew how to, like Laura Dern's another, which we'll get to in a second. They're two just phenomenal actors. They're not action heroes and they're not superstars. So yeah, Sam Neill in this film is a weird casting choice in this period of time. But he's so good. He's so I love
It's
him.
almost like
he's so sincere.
Sam Neill doing his version of Indiana Jones in some way.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's like he's gone, well, Indiana Jones is the action hero version of that character, and this is the passionate, intelligent version of a similar character.
Yeah.
You're dead right.
Even with the hat.
Even with the hat.
Yeah, that's an iconic hat again in a Spielberg film. And just in a little wry, he's got a wry humour similar to Indiana Jones's character as well, which is just, maybe it's a Spielberg trait, but more than anything. But I think he fits really nicely. Like he adds that intellectualism to the film and a real subtle humour and humanity to the film.
You don't feel like he's struggling to keep up with the content of his dialogue. He sounds like he's understanding, which I have no idea if he knows anything about dinosaurs or not, but he is convincing. And there's some heavy stuff in there. That sequence at the start, which really sets up his character with the little kid who says that a velociraptor can't do shit.
Because Velociraptor's a pack hunter, you see. He uses coordinated attack patterns, and he is out in force today. And he slashes at you with this 6-inch retractable claw, like a razor, on the middle toe. He doesn't bother to bite your jugular like a lion, see? No. He slashes at you here, or here. Or maybe across the belly, spilling your intestines. The point is, you are alive when they start to eat you. So, try to show a little respect.
And the way that he draws the kid in, and it's just a beautiful moment. And
I'll be really interested to see what you guys think of his performance and portrayal of the same character when we get to 3, because it has a real.
I didn't realise he was back in any of the sequels, so I'm
3,
very curious.
It has a real like Bill Murray Ghostbusters 2 feel about it.
Really?
Let me just tease that with you guys, okay?
It's got a real paying off the mortgage kind of feel to it, isn't it?
It really does. So I don't know.
Putting the kids through school kind of feel to it.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Laura Dern plays Dr. Ellie Sattler. She has a much more prominent role in the film than in the novel. Ellie does many of the things done by one of the other characters in the novel. Additionally, in the film, Ellie is both a doctor and in a relationship with Dr. Grant. So Spielberg did this not only to add tension to the film, but also because he felt that she didn't get enough attention in the book. It's an interesting sort of dynamic between the two, isn't it? Because it's sort of...
they're not a very physical, hands-on couple.
No, like Ian Malcolm we'll get to Jeff Goldblum in a second, but Ian Malcolm sort of like wants to suss out what their relationship is at one point.
It's not clear to him at all what's going on. But I like that. I like that they're not a full-on...
Feels very realistic.
It does, yeah. And also, I guess... They're so used to playing... They obviously play a role in the public eye where they're two professionals, and then in private they're, I assume, a passionate couple. So I like that they do that. That seems to be the dynamic there. Is if we're in front of people, then we're just two professionals that... And then, I like it. I think it's a really interesting way to have a romantic storyline in a film without labouring it.
And you can sense that she's interested in his paternal sensibilities as well, and is very curious throughout the film. And you can always see there's always a cut to her watching his reactions and being bemused, and then.
So how do you feel that Dern does in this role?
I think she's great. Dern's a complicated actress for me because, I mean, she's in a lot of, obviously, David Lynch films, and she's in a lot of arty fare, and then she'll pop up in something commercial every now and then, and I don't know, she just seems to act the pants off everybody in the scenes around her. She's great in this. And again, another weird casting choice from Spielberg, because she hadn't done any blockbusters at this point. She'd done a lot of independent or arty kind of films and a couple of, low-rent horror films.
Her look of distress, which you see more in the second half, obviously, when she's physically being threatened by the raptors and stuff like that. Her look of distress is something else, I must say. She puts it all into that facial expression.
Definitely. And I was wondering this with Laura Dern and
Ariana Richards.
Ariana Richards had both done kind of horror films and creature features before this film, and I kind of wonder if that was part of why Spielberg cast them, because obviously she's a quality actor, but she has been running and screaming and been that person in film as well. So, and Ariana Richards is the same. She'd done Tremors and Tremors 3 after this. So yeah, they're kind of scream queens to a degree. Yep. But then bring so much more depth as well to the performance.
I struggle with Dern at the best of times. I think she's the weakest link in the film, to be honest.
Okay.
For me, I mean, it's hard because some elements of her performance work. I think she's well cast in that role. I think she looks the part, but I just find I do find she overacts. I do find it quite jarring at times.
Yep.
And some of her reactions, I think when I was a kid, when I saw it for the first time, I was laughing because and her screaming to her raptors, and her that scene when she's she's limping towards Sam Neill at the end and going, "Run, run!" It's comical. It just doesn't work, and I don't know if that's her. I think it is her performance.
I think it is her performance.
She is very full on, and even in other films, I find she just stands out for some reason to me. It doesn't quite work. I can't put my finger on it.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
To an extent. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
Here we go. Jeff Goldblum plays Dr. Ian Malcolm. This man is hilarious.
He is the hero of this film.
He is the hero of this film.
Not in terms of the plot, but in terms of the casting.
Yeah.
I love Jeff Goldblum in this.
It's like the supreme role, really, isn't it?
And apparently he got to inform his character quite a bit. His character was supposed to die quite early on when the T-Rex rampages.
Not die. He was supposed to get severely injured and then not play as much of a part.
Yeah.
He was playing his part from a hospital bed or something.
And he was going to cowardly run away. He wasn't going to actually help them.
That's right. He was going to be like the lawyer and just trying to save his own skin. And then he suggested, wouldn't it be more interesting? And I love him. He tells that story in one of the docos on the Blu-ray where he's just like, I just wanted to be in the film more, but wouldn't it be more interesting if we did something a bit different? He's so funny. He's so great.
When I saw this at IMAX during its re-release, I'd forgotten about the shot where he's injured, sitting on top
on the Jeep, on the back of the
Jeep.
In
the back of the Jeep with his shirt open.
Oh yeah,
in a pose he's posing for a bloody underwear commercial or something
so
like
good.
that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's just before the T-Rex rocks up, I think. That shot with him just sitting there looking relaxed with his shirt open is absolutely hilarious.
It's so
I
funny.
think everyone in the audience in the IMAX crowd that day absolutely giggled because just looking how funny that image was.
There's another shot. There's another shot. I don't know if it's the same one.
When they're in the bunker, there's one where he's looking very seductive.
It is a classic. It's almost like a porn shot. It's like the film has fallen in love
up.
with Jeff Goldblum during the production, and it's just the camera just looks at him lovingly. It's like he's backlit and he's kind of almost topless, and he's just lounging back saying, "Hey ladies, take me, I'm yours." It's a classic shot.
The other great thing about Jeff Goldblum in this is that he's the cynical mathematician, chaos theory guy, right? But he's right.
Oh yeah,
he sets up. Obviously,
he makes several predictions based on the chaos theory about the consequences and the failure of attempting to control and how often he's correct as well.
And so he is. It takes Sam Neill's character the whole experience to realize it's a bad idea. Whereas Jeff Goldblum's character is right from the start. He's like, no, this is not a good idea.
Yeah. This is not. I've chosen not to endorse your park.
Yeah, which is the final line, or the big line at the end with Sam Neill.
Yeah.
Whereas, I really, especially when I watched it again this time, I really appreciate Jeff Goldblum's character. Some people don't like that in an action film where there's that cynical person, but he's not just being cynical for the sake of it. He's a chaos theory mathematician, so he's being intellectually cynical, I guess. He's not saying this is a bad idea for a park. He's just saying, well, the odds are it's not. This is not.
The lack of humility in front of nature is staggering. I love that line.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's they're talking about marketing the park and just the grotesque quality of just doing it before actually thinking about whether they should do it. It's really good.
Talking about how the scientists just
good,
took someone else's work.
It's great writing. I mean, I think the film gets a lot of stick for its script, but I think that those sequences they're really intelligent and they're very gripping. Yeah, no,
they make you think about what is ultimately a science fiction concept.
That's
you know,
right.
like in reality, it's like
and it doesn't overdo it. It's just enough.
Yeah. I think the casting of Goldblum in that character too is that it could have been a very nerdy chaos theory mathematician, or it could have been a very hunky, useless kind of character as well if he's the sleazy kind of guy. But Goldblum's so charismatic, and when he's hitting on Laura Dern's character, you kind of forgive him because he doesn't know that they're together, like that Sam Neill and Laura Dern are a couple. And he's trying to find out. He's trying to do the right thing, but at the same time, he is still looking for his former ex-wife. So it's a really nice dynamic that he brings.
I love that scene where he officially asks Sam Neill if they're an item
and he
or
doesn't
not.
answer straight anyway.
He gives him the whole we are. Yeah.
Oh, later on, yeah.
I love the dynamic between Grant and his character. Like just when they're stuck in the car together, and there's tension there. There's this competition,
so tense,
but there's also this kind of camaraderie as well. And he hands him the water to drink, and there's just this thing going on there, which is fascinating.
It's a really good dynamic. It's nailed, isn't it?
Yeah, it really balances out because then you have these huge action pieces, but you have this human story going on.
Yeah, and his character is obviously popular because he became the central protagonist of the Lost Worlds. So they wouldn't have done that if.
So Lost Worlds number 2.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. I'll have to check it out for the podcast.
You will be checking it out, unfortunately.
I love Jeff Goldblum, and he's great in Independence Day, and they've just announced the sequel to that he's apparently going to be in. So
okay.
But yeah, Jeff Goldblum's great.
Richard Attenborough plays John Hammond.
I love Richard Attenborough, and I used to love David Attenborough as a kid, and there's no real parallels between the two, except they've both, I guess, directed film at various times in their career. But I remember staying up late one night and watching this I think it was an old Ealing comedy or an old English film, dark comedy with Richard Attenborough, and he was so brilliant, just chews the scenery and is just magnificent and just holds your attention. And definitely, this is what I love him in this film too. He's just so good. It goes back to a bit like the Alec Guinness in Star Wars kind of feel. He's a very credible kind of character. He's very sincere, even though he's a little bit crazy. He's still quite a genuine kind of man. The stuff between him and Wayne Knight about talking about financial issues and things is really powerful. And yeah, Richard Attenborough is great in this film. He's so good.
He's not modelled on anyone in particular, but Crichton explained that in an interview that Hammond is like the dark side of Walt Disney. Did you know that, Brose? Yeah.
Well, he refers to Disneyland in the film too, yeah.
Apparently his costume design was modelled on the Colonel from Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I'll tell you what. Yeah. The similarity is impeccable. He is portrayed as a cold, eccentric CEO interested only in making a profit and succeeding in creating dinosaurs. Now, this is the way...
That's in the book.
This is in the book, right? Yep. So when explaining to Dr. Wu while he chose to spend his money on an amusement park rather than helping mankind, Hammond said, "That's a terrible idea. A very poor use of new technology. Helping mankind is a very risky business. Personally, I would never help mankind." In a stark contrast to the cold, uncaring persona depicted in the novel, Hammond's film counterpart is a jovial and kind man who takes responsibility for his actions, demonstrating real concern for his grandchildren when they're in danger, and he is depicted as a sympathetic grandfather who means well and appears less interested in profit than his novel counterpart, with some of the greedy negative aspects being transferred over to another character, Gennaro, who plays the lawyer. The film's Hammond has a deeper, more emotional understanding of creating attractions for children and families and desires to make this attraction a scientific reality. How do you think he does in the film, Andrew?
Yeah, he's just has that doddering old man quality, and I'd never seen a film of his before. I think maybe the Great Escape.
Great Escape, yeah,
would have been one I'd seen.
He's great in that.
Yeah, like you go back and see his earlier catalogue when he was a younger man, and he's just a really commanding presence on screen.
And just that childlike look on his face when he goes, there it is. When they run to the park, just looking across, like...
And there's that great moment when he's sitting in the visitor centre eating ice cream because it's going to melt anyway, and he's questioning whether he's gone crazy or whether he's done the right or wrong thing, and that could so easily be a black and white character that is just a money-grubbing nobody. But when he sits there, and Richard Attenborough just sitting there and just musing over the fact that maybe he has lost his mind, or maybe he's gone a bit crazy. It's just an incredible
really well
moment, and he's brilliant.
Because you don't in blockbusters today, you don't get scenes like that, do you? There's a real depth in a lot of these scenes.
Now, a lot of films now don't spend time just sitting around discussing those types of ideas. It's just bang, 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 bang. Let's keep going, keep pushing forward.
Set piece, and then a little bit of information in between.
It's true. Martin Ferrero plays Donald Gennaro, the attorney sent on behalf of Jurassic Park's investors to investigate the safety of the park after several reports of missing or dead workers. This character's like... he's cowardly and greedy, really.
This is a really two-dimensional character.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and him going from being the stressed-out kind of cynical, panicky lawyer into the money-grubbing, excited at that dinner when they're sitting around eating lunch or whatever with the fish that no one eats. I love that transformation for him, and him just working out the numbers in his head, and then he comes to a beautiful demise as well. And I love that character. I don't care. It's set up to be. He's set up to be killed, and he's killed beautifully.
His entrance as a character when he's on the raft, and he just looks so out of place.
Oh, yeah.
And those Mexican guys are just like talking to themselves in Spanish and just taking the piss out of him.
Yeah,
It's just like,
completely.
It's a beautiful introduction.
It's a great character. Even though it's not got a lot of dimension, it's still a great character.
He abandons the kids, so that's setting up...
He's a coward.
That's really just setting up the death even more, isn't it? By the time he gets eaten, it's almost like it's an applause moment. Almost, isn't it?
It is. I think when I saw it in 3D, there was applause when he was killed. I think people... there was a bit of a...
It's actually one of the most violent parts in the film as well. Like
it is particularly violent.
He gets eaten, and there's a specific Gary Reinstrom crunch sound in there when the Tyrannosaurus takes a chunk out of him as well. So. I think it's exactly what you want.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the Tyrannosaurus is particularly violent there, and not as the Tyrannosaurus Rex is more violent there than he is with the raptors at the end of the film.
So a couple of members of the supporting cast, just quickly, guys, that we can make mention of, and the two that jump to mind for me is obviously Samuel L. Jackson and Wayne Knight.
Of course, yeah. Samuel L. Jackson, who hadn't done much mainstream at this point. It's really interesting. If you go on IMDb and look up Samuel L. Jackson, you put Jurassic Park in the middle. Before Jurassic Park, he'd done Do the Right Thing, which was obviously a big hit for an independent film and did quite well. But he's only a supporting player in that. And
he's done National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1. It was the same year.
He hadn't. It came out after. No, but here's the interesting thing. From Jurassic Park onwards, all the movie posters and DVD covers listed on IMDb, after Jurassic Park, his face is on them.
Oh, okay.
Whereas before Jurassic Park, he's not.
Yeah.
So he's in Coming to America. He's he's trying to hold up McDowell's in that, and all these incredible supporting roles that we've all looked back on after the fact and gone, wow, how good is he in that? Whereas this was kind of his last supporting role before he Loaded Weapon is a weird example that you bring it up, but that was kind of his first co-starring or starring role, and then from that he started co-starring and starring in a lot of films. So
Pulp Fiction was the year after, wasn't it?
It was.
And that's an explosion in the career, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's quite extraordinary in his career that this is kind of the last of the supporting role.
And always remembered for hold on to your butts.
And his character in this, Ray Arnold, is just kind of useless. It doesn't quite.
He doesn't look enthused, does he, when he's delivering his lines?
No, and it's not. There's not a lot. There's no depth to this character. It's kind of just another character that's set up to die, and it's not quite as interesting as it could be. There could be a little bit more going on with Samuel L. Jackson. Like, he doesn't know how to do any of the stuff in the computer system because of Wayne Knight's character. But at the same time, what does he do then? What was his job? We don't really know what he was doing at the park, except he was just standing around in a lab coat. Yeah.
And Wayne Knight?
Wayne Knight's great in this. He's so good. And he's giggling best, just so greedy and selfish and awful and brilliant. I love him in this.
He's so funny, isn't he?
He is hilarious.
I love that bit when the dinosaur pokes up around the tree and he goes, "That's nice. That's nice."
Oh, he's so good in this film. He
gives you a much needed chuckle in the film, I think. He's a very important character to have to balance things out.
You didn't say the magic word.
That stays with you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's stayed with me since I saw it.
I think there's a line like that that's repeated over and over, like on a recording can work effectively in a movie when done the right way. It's like in Total Recall with get your ass to Mars, get your ass to Mars, get your ass to Mars. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like
I don't know what you're talking about, but I somehow feel like I need to get my ass to Mars. But I'll have to say the magic word.
Do you have a favourite scene in this film, Brose?
I don't know. It's the iconic scene of this film. It's the number one scene. The T-Rex enclosure, the attacking the cars, the interaction between Sam Neill and the kids, the obviously the lawyer. That's just it's such a well put together. It's beyond being a set piece. It's a whole standalone short film within a film, and it's just so expertly done.
I was going to say that scene too. The pacing of that scene is really interesting as well, because the movie actually stalls for a little while, but you're so engulfed in the situation, and the Spielberg's direction in that scene, the way it's all covered, the tension,
it's exceptional. The cutting between CGI to puppets, all
the
of it
explanation for people who don't know a lot about dinosaurs, about the way that they describe about, like if we stand still, he can't see us,
which is not true about T-Rexes.
But I'm just saying that, like, in the context of the movie, it's a very effective.
It's a really good dramatic device. Really good.
Yep.
The other thing too is apparently originally it wasn't going to be shot in wet weather, in rain, and then Spielberg decided the scene would be much more dramatic in rain, and it is. Yeah. It is absolutely spectacular with the rain falling. It creates so much more drama. And it was shot on 2 different locations. It was shot on location, and then they recreated that location on a soundstage. But it's seamless. That scene is perfect cinema.
And the corresponding chase scene with the Jeep as well is an exciting action sequence. Do you know what I mean?
Really
particularly
good.
When it's getting so close, and
objects in the rearview mirror.
And Malcolm falls back onto the gear stick and puts the car in neutral. As well.
Really good.
It's
the other thing. It's already established earlier in the film how fast a T-Rex can run.
Yeah,
they mentioned that as well.
And why it stops
70 miles an hour.
And why it stops.
Exactly. So it's great filmmaking. Yeah. It's just extraordinary.
Do you have a favourite scene, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean that is the scene, but the raptors in the kitchen scene is
that's
right up there.
Tension.
Yeah.
The raptors in the kitchen one is one of the ones that annoys me the most. But I kind of mentioned it earlier. I just find that all a bit.
Well, the raptors opening the door. And I don't know, some of that stuff.
It's a dinosaur movie.
Some of that stuff bugs me a little bit.
But just the construction, the way it's
it is an amazingly shot and paced scene as well. You're right.
And from a cinematography point of view, the nightmare of having to shoot in a room full of reflected surfaces.
Oh yeah.
I've seen some interview with Dean Cundy about that, and how it was just really challenging to try not show any camera or lights in any of that.
Yeah, and they were using blacks to cover over reflective surfaces they didn't reflect off and all that stuff. Yeah, it's incredible. The other scene worth mentioning as well is the finale in the visitor center with the raptors and the escaping the raptors. And this is mentioned on the Blu-ray. It's been mentioned extensively. Not the original finale. The original finale was just the raptors.
Yeah.
And then after the success,
bring the T-Rex in.
Yeah, after the success of the T-Rex enclosure sequence, Spielberg's like, I've got to bring the T-Rex back. And what he does that's really interesting, not only does he bring the T-Rex back, he makes the T-Rex, this is continuing the idea that these are animals just behaving like animals, but he makes the T-Rex the hero.
Yep.
Brings it back, and he makes the character endearing, or the T-Rex endearing, by rescuing the humans, even though that's not his intent. His intent is just to get the raptors and, I assume, eat them. But it's a spectacular use of the T-Rex returning.
That sequence that you're talking about as well, Brose, has a really fantastic use of John Williams' score, and we'll obviously we'll get into that when we speak out the music. But that part where the T-Rex does come in and the Jurassic Park theme just like sweeps up with those images, it helps make it the hero as well.
Absolutely, you know what I mean? That moment does really build.
It's just one of those moments that really sticks with you, and when the music and the visuals are merging.
It's an interesting idea, because imagine that film finishing just with the raptors being beaten. Like it does seem like an anticlimax.
Yeah, it does.
And having T-Rex come in is. Wow. I mean,
the big finish that you need.
Where does T-Rex go once they pile into the cars and drive off, though? Does he just storm off
munching
into the
forest?
Raptors,
Isn't he?
on the raptors,
He's enjoying it. That's the implication.
It's his favourite dish.
Yeah. The dinosaurs were created using groundbreaking computer-generated imagery by Industrial Light and Magic, and with life-size animatronic dinosaurs built by Stan Winston's team. All right. Now, we haven't got into Stan Winston much on this show yet. We haven't really looked at this is the first film that we've looked at with his legacy. This man is a legend in regards to design,
making shit happen and making it amazing.
And I think that a lot of people have obviously taken on his legacy, including his team and the like. But when he passed away a number of years back, we lost someone of huge significance in the effects and animatronic industry.
And just from a design point of view as well, his character design is so iconic in movie history.
Yep.
And he had his involvement in the Predator character,
Terminator.
Terminator, Aliens, Aliens, the Queen design.
Yep.
I mean, we're just talking about like classic characters in cinema history.
Definitely. And he was all over the dinosaur designs in Jurassic Park. But the key thing here as well is Industrial Light and Magic and their computer-generated imagery. This was the first movie that really sort of showed CGI's ability and how it can be used in film, because it's gone on this path ever since. It wasn't the first film. The Abyss was the first film to experiment with it. Terminator 2 was the first film to really use it in like an effective way. But this is the first time real creatures had ever been made with computer-generated graphics. So T-1000 is a mimetic polyalloy, whatever. Which is obviously So then they're integrating that animation with the actor is what they use there. So so Rob Patrick isn't CGI in that film. They've integrated the video with the CGI. These are living, breathing CGI creatures for the first time, and they had no idea how good it was going to work necessarily or not. So it's absolutely spectacular. They were going to be originally stop motion for all the full-sized imagery. To showcase the film's sound design, so we'll just move on to sound just quickly as well, which includes a mixture of various animal noises for the dinosaur roars. Spielberg invested in the creation of DTS, a company specializing in digital surround sound formats. Now, just quickly, while we are talking sound, this film has such a good sound design.
Yeah.
The sound in this movie, like, if you when it came out on DVD for the first time and I put it on, I had no idea. I'd forgotten about how good this film sounded. I put it on my surround sound unit at home, and it just blew me away. To this day, it's still reference quality now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely sensational. All the little elements all the way through it, especially in the sequences when they're in the jungle or when there's the rain going on. So you've not just got the dinosaurs and you've got the vehicle noise and the obviously dialogue and stuff going on within vehicles and so forth, but you've got, little bits of leaves and bits and pieces going on around behind you and other creatures like the raptor shot with Muldoon where there's the two raptors and the snakes slithering across the branches. There's all this amazing dynamic audio that's been mixed for this film and in all the separate channels, and like it's just extraordinary.
And all from a storytelling point of view.
Yeah, none of it's just there for the sake of it. Yeah.
I mean, just like to reference the kitchen sequence again, just when the raptor calls his mate to come in. And it's just chilling, just the sound they use.
That's the sound of the
claws.
raptor's claws on the tiled floor.
Yeah,
I think.
it's so effective.
Very, very effective. Despite the title of the film referencing the Jurassic period, most of the dinosaurs featured did not exist until the Cretaceous period, with the exception of Brachiosaurus and Dilophosaurus, apparently. The screenplay acknowledges this when Dr. Grant describes the ferocity of the Velociraptor to a young boy, saying, "Try to imagine yourself in the Cretaceous period." So they actually do put a line in there to
look after it.
Do it. Why do you think the Triceratops was sick in this film?
Yeah, that's kind of one of the weird plot points, isn't it? Because we spend a little bit of time with the Triceratops, and it kind of just exists to separate Laura Dern from the rest of them. And I don't know, it's not really explained.
The novel gives a bit more of an answer. Triceratops digest food like vegetables or fruit by eating small stones that crush and mash the food in the stomach. The stones it eats are too close to the poisonous West Indian lilac berries.
Oh, right.
Therefore, when it replaces the stones every 6 weeks or so, it simultaneously picks up fallen berries and is poisoned again. This is suggested in the scene where Dr. Sadler crouches down by the lilac berry bush, picks up some small stones and plays with them in the air for a second. She fails to find berries in the animal's excrement because the berries are regurgitated along with the stones. I thought that they were implying something in regards to the story with the sick Triceratops.
Yeah, it is a weird little moment, and I just don't know. I don't know. That Triceratops looks spectacular, by the way. That's all puppets. It looks so believable. Yeah, like it is incredible. Yeah. And there would have been 12 guys operating that thing. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's maybe a key. Maybe they wanted the actors to get up and close with the dinosaur, like have a scene where they actually touch
them. And the cast talk about the moment when they walked to set and saw that in the middle of the set there or the location, and just how they were blown away by how realistic it was. It is one of those, I don't know, it really only exists in the film, that part, to get Laura Dern's character away from the other characters. That's it. That's all it does. And it's a little bit frustrating. It is one of the frustrating things about this script.
It does have the great line from Goldblum.
That is one big pile of shit.
It's really good. I like that. Is the whole science fiction element of cloning dinosaurs actually completely implausible?
Yeah, it is. At least the way they explain it in this. Because there'd be no blood in that mosquito. There'd be dried up pieces of semblance of something, but there's no blood in that mosquito to pull out. And And even the way they explain it using frog DNA and using all that, it's just not going to happen. And let's not even mention how the hell they cloned plants and got them to exist, because there was no plant DNA in the mosquito. So the way they explain it in the film, not possible.
Yeah, and I think the ethical and religious implications of looking into something like this as well is a whole
that's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. Yeah. And Jeff Goldblum's character brings that up. Asking the question, should you have done it just because you could? Yeah. In the book, however, it's explained that these were not exact replicas of their prehistoric ancestors, but Dr. Henry Wu's creations, who's the Asian because they are mutated versions from their...
Made from fragments of the DNA that was available and corrected and changed according to the needs of the client, Mr. Hammond. To put it simply, these are manufactured creatures made to look and act as real dinosaurs would have, but they are not 100% clones. Now, Jurassic Park was first released on DVD in 2000 in both a standalone disc and in a box set along with its sequel, The Lost World, Jurassic Park. And let's leave the discussion about that title till next when we look at the sequel. When we look, but no, the actual title of the film is The Lost World, Jurassic Park.
Oh, right, okay.
Almost like, in case you forgot that it was part of that series. But the book was never called that.
It was just
the name of the film, yeah. No commentary on this DVD, though, Brose.
No, which is a blessing.
But Spielberg doesn't do them.
No, he doesn't. Spielberg doesn't do commentaries, but he films everything. There's on the Blu-ray that I've got, it's got camcorder footage of production meetings at his house, by the looks of it, with maquettes of dinosaurs. And, he films everything. The behind-the-scenes are always reasonably solid, and there's plenty of him talking.
It's a little strange to me. I don't understand why he can give us so much information on the making of his movies, but then say, no, I don't want to do a commentary because I think it might spoil it. I'd like to. I don't have the exact quote here, but I have.
That's his opinion.
His opinion of it.
I can understand that to a degree, but
do you think commentaries are becoming a little bit dated as a concept?
I think so. Yeah. I think there will be a time where commentaries just won't happen.
Yeah,
which is a pity, because when they're good, they're very good, but they're often not. Which we've discussed on the show before. So, I mean, there's so much making of footage about this film. And the other thing about Spielberg is Spielberg's not just a director. He's like a whole industry. Spielberg is, well, obviously he's got DreamWorks now, but he's always kind of acted like he is a studio, that he always puts his best face forward and always looks after his legacy. So that the danger with a commentary from Spielberg anyway is that he's just going to be self-perpetuating anyway. He's going to talk more about his myths that he wants to generate about the way he makes film. Like, there's a few lines that pop up in the making of stuff over and over and over again that I just don't want to hear anymore because they don't seem honest. The 65 million years in the making line gives me the absolute shits because it's not accurate anyway, and it's just a nice throwaway tag, but they use it sincerely all the time, like it actually means something. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. It's a slogan. It's rubbish. So the danger with Spielberg is that he would less be being honest about his filmmaking experience and more just perpetuating the myths of his filmmaking, which would just give me the absolute shits. And
then there was the 2011 Blu-ray release, which you just picked up recently.
That's the one that I've got, the 11/12 release, which the extras are quite good on it, and it has the archive extras from the DVD release, but the transfer quality is pretty ordinary, especially early on with the more so-called kind of more natural light-lit scenes. The CGI looks really clunky. Later on, when it's dark and raining, the CGI holds up much better. And, the transfer's just really washed out and kind of, I don't know, just looks a bit average.
It has an excellent hour-long making-of documentary from the early 90s, and also the first 3 parts of a 6-part series of featurettes made for the Blu-ray set called Return to Jurassic Park, which are quite good.
They're quite good as well. Now, the hour-long making-of from the original DVD sets is worth a look. It is hosted by James Earl Jones. And it's so bizarre, and I don't understand why or how James Earl Jones has anything to do with the making of Jurassic Park, except it must have been a primetime network release on TV at some point as well. But even funnier than that is James Earl Jones obviously isn't that comfortable talking in front of a camera as himself, as opposed to playing a character. And he's obviously been told, don't move your hands, just hang them by your side and just keep your arms straight. But it kind of looks like his hands have been stitched into the end of his jacket, and they just kind of flop around like there's no arm in between his hand and his shoulder. And it is, I only see it on screen for a split second, but it's worth watching just for that moment alone to watch, I don't know, James Earl Jones with no arms, them just floating around as he walks towards the camera. It's just the most hilarious, bizarre-looking thing I've ever seen.
So go out and purchase this Blu-ray just
to see James Earl Jones looking like a dickhead.
Yeah.
You're selling it to me.
It's so funny. We can put it on after if you want to see just 2 minutes of it, but him with his gangly arms was hilarious.
Then in 2013...
Oh, look, you brought the
2013, Brose, there was a re-release, which is particularly because of the 3D re-release of the film. This latest release does feature a new transfer, one created specifically for the movie's recent 3D conversion, using a new fully restored color-corrected 4K master of the film's original 35mm negative, all approved by Spielberg apparently, so I don't know, maybe it does look better than the one you got, Brose.
Yeah, no.
Perhaps the next time Schizophrenic Universal releases the film on Blu-ray, we'll be able to, at long last, call it the definitive version. According to the fans, we don't have the definitive version of Jurassic Park yet. They'd know. Andrew, let's talk a little bit about the John Williams and his legendary score. Obviously, we went into him quite a lot of detail with Star Wars. You just about say that the score of Jurassic Park could be just as iconic in its own way.
Yeah, I think it's like Spielberg. It's kind of one of his last classic pop culture scores that he did, and he also moved in a different direction with the rest of his career and did some more dramatic, kind of heavier toned films. So this is probably the last real big, payoff, big great theme. I mean, I remember at school when kids were whistling that everywhere. It was just like everyone connected with that theme, and it was just so
Which is
catchy.
also the sign of a good theme.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does sort of gel in the head. And
it's weird. This theme doesn't resonate with me at all. I find it kind of derivative and bland. Really? It reminds me of the Back to the Future theme in some ways, and obviously Williams gets branded as a rip-off merchant all the time, and as I said in the Star Wars, I don't care. And I've got no problems with it sounding like something else. I wish I could work out what it reminds me of, but I can't. But I don't know, this theme is, for me, and people love this theme. There are plenty of people that say this is their favourite Williams track ever, which is weird to say after he's done Star Wars, Superman, E.T., etc., etc. But yeah, this one doesn't resonate with me at all, but I didn't see the film at the time, so it's a combination.
I can understand that. I mean, I don't think it's one of his great themes. I mean, it's
fans do think it is his greatest theme.
Yeah, I mean, it does what it needs to do. It provides a musical character for the and a sense of adventure.
And it definitely does that.
Happiness and excitement I get from it as well. Particularly, and there's a couple of the main themes there, but like the one that I mentioned that they use in the scene I was talking about before. That's like a perfect merging of like visuals and music for me.
More so than the main theme, it's when Williams reflects the main theme in other parts of the film. I get really excited then, I think. Like he'll tease it a bit somewhere else in a dramatic moment or an action moment. There's a bit of that theme that comes in. That's probably when I get more excited about that rather than that opening piece from the top. But
it's interesting because, I mean, that they are very much... The two films, Jaws and Jurassic Park, mirror each other a little bit stylistically and content-wise. And obviously the iconic score of Jaws is such a huge part of that film, but this is a very understated work from him, and it really just it creates a tone of adventure and
there is it's a hopefulness and an excitement. It's a good thing. I'm not knocking it. I'm just when I was researching the theme for this, it's so much praise for it online. I just don't understand that personally,
and I think it's just like at the time when we were seeing these images on the screen, I just think that it conveyed how everyone was feeling at the time as well.
Of course,
perfectly.
Yeah, it was just exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and Williams' work ties in so well with Spielberg's imagery. It's insane. Like he's just so good at capturing those moments.
and there's a few more different elements in there. There's kind of electronic elements that he weaves in there, and kind of unusual textures.
Wayne Knight's escape and stuff.
There's
some really interesting electronic effects used there.
Really kind of creepy kind of sounds, which are very interesting.
It was released twice, my understanding. Once in 1993 when the film came out, and then re-released in 2013 for the tie-in with the 3D re-release. Yeah. So what can you tell us about those releases?
I think that I think John Williams actually added hand-picked 4 tracks himself.
For the re-release.
For the re-release, yeah. So that's otherwise it's the same release, but 4 additional tracks. I mean, they're very minimal kind of pieces in the score. They're lovely pieces, but by no means if you're a completist, obviously you'll love that, you'll take it. But I don't think it's an essential buy just for those 4 tracks.
So the original album does what it's supposed to and gives you
it covers all the big moments.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. In regards to alternate versions or deleted scenes, the mainland Chinese release is a 3D version. Because the original version apparently wasn't released there. I didn't
there you
know
go.
this.
Right,
okay. Deletes the following: the goat chunk splattering against the tour jeep and Lex's subsequent reaction, Gennaro in the T-Rex's mouth, which you spoke about before, Dr. Sattler's discovery of Arnold's severed arm, in the power station, and the raptor pouncing on Muldoon. Yeah, so these just particularly violent imagery was removed for this version for some reason.
The arm, Arnold's arm, is very Raiders of the Lost Ark, like
It's a very fake-looking kind of. Don't you think?
I think HD is making it look worse as well.
Oh, really?
I think so.
It kind of reminded me of Commando a bit with that deleted scene with the arm. But
Now, this is the first film that we've looked at that's got a 3D re-release. Spielberg declared that he had produced the film with a sort of subconscious 3D, as scenes feature animals walking towards the cameras and some effects of foreground and background overlay. In 2011, he stated in an interview that Jurassic Park was the only of his works that he had considered for a conversion, and once he saw the 3D version of Titanic in 2012, he liked the new look of the film so much that he hired the same retrofitting company, Stereo D. Interesting decision, this one.
I enjoyed it in 3D. I think it was really good, and whether or not there was a subconscious 3D element or just a very conscious wanker element from Spielberg for saying that, I don't know. But I enjoyed this in 3D. I saw it in IMAX as well, so I probably would have enjoyed it just as much in IMAX as it was 3D or not 3D. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's some moments that really work, and especially the fright moments, which are like the raptor in the electrical station or the frilled neck thing with Newman. All that stuff works really well. Wayne Knight will forever be Newman. There's no question about that.
Yeah, Newman. This is a perfect example of a film that needs to be seen on the big screen. With that sound quality and the big scale of it. I mean, it would be such a lot. I mean, I remember seeing it as a kid, but I'd love to see it again on the big screen. It
was worth it. Let me put it that way. I went to see it during its re-release, and I got a lot out of it. Yeah. As well. I think it's the kind of film that he would have loved to have shot in the format.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. Collectibles from Jurassic Park, Bros.
Well, here's an interesting thing. Because I didn't care about this film when it came out, and I've never been into dinosaurs or anything, I'd kind of forgotten how big a deal the collectibles for this film and this series of films was. And I'm going on a limb here, but I wouldn't be surprised if the reason we had so many sequels to this film in some way is to do with the sale of toys, because this not only launched, obviously there were film-related toys, and I'm only going to talk specifically about the toys for this film, but after this film was released, not only were there then subsequent series of toys for subsequent films, there are also spin-off toys and all kinds of different dinosaur-related action figures with the Jurassic Park branding that were released from this. I'm going to talk specifically about action figures, but there are obviously then plush and all kinds of bits and pieces, and then T-shirts. One of my favourite shots in this film is in the visitor centre when it shows a shot of all the different Jurassic Park merchandise that is for sale at the visitor centre within the movie. And I love those moments in movies when there's merchandise featured that can be released later, and it's kind of tasty. But Kenner released the action figures for Jurassic Park, and I'm not sure at which point these toys started being developed, and you kind of get the feeling with this type of action figure series that some of the toys were simply dinosaur toys or action figures they'd already had molds for, that they've then just rebranded and repainted for Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park dinosaurs do have JP insignia on the body somewhere of the toy, but for example, the action figures, there were 5 action figures released in the first range of Jurassic Park toys for this film that didn't have or share the likenesses of any of the actors, which is really weird. Nedry or whatever his name is, Wayne Knight's character, is a very svelte-looking, comparatively kind of character and reflects Wayne Knight in no way, shape or form. And all 5 of those figures don't really look like their actors' counterparts. There was a second series released the year after, and they did sculpt the figures to look more like the actors. So they obviously saw that there was value in that, but by then it was kind of too late, and those figures didn't sell particularly well, and they're quite rare and quite hard to get. So they released the 5 figures, and then innumerable number of dinosaurs were released to go alongside it. Obviously, T-Rex had a massive run in the Jurassic Park series, and then all the other dinosaurs kind of alongside with it. And the dinosaurs, more so than the humans, is where things went on to. The other thing that I love about a good action figure series is that I love vehicles in action figure series, and so the Jurassic Park vehicles were released as well, and they just look, the Jeeps and the 4-wheel drives, and they look spectacular. They look great, and you can get the characters in there, and they can drive them around. I don't know what it is about vehicles with action figures, but I bloody love it. They were it was quite a successful series, obviously, of toys, and like I said, no doubt that it influenced the making of subsequent films.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. After the enormous success of the film, Spielberg requested Michael Crichton to write a sequel novel, leading to the 1995 book The Lost World, which in turn was adapted as The Lost World Jurassic Park in 1997, also directed by Spielberg and written by David Cope. Another film, Jurassic Park 3, was released in 2001 under the direction of Joe Johnston. So this is when Spielberg walked away. But he stayed on as executive producer, of course, featuring an original script that still incorporated unused elements from Crichton's original Jurassic Park. So that's probably the most interesting thing about Jurassic Park 3. Is some of the things
goes back to the source material.
Sometimes, but yeah, it doesn't help it. But anyway, a fourth installment, Jurassic World, is about to be released with a June 12th, 2015 release date. Spielberg again only produces, with Colin Trevorrow, I think is how you pronounce his name, directing a script written by himself and Derek Connolly. All of the Universal parks and resorts include a Jurassic Park themed ride. The first was Jurassic Park The Ride at Universal Studios Hollywood on June 15th, 1996, built after 6 years of development at a cost of $110 million. Now, I've been on this ride at Universal Studios, and it's pretty good. But $110 million, that just sort of,
I went to Universal Studios, and it was closed when I was...
turn it up.
When did you go to Universal?
It was 2000...
Okay.
It was actually 1999.
I don't remember it being there, though. Jurassic Park.
It was there, because I definitely went on.
Yeah, you went on in 2008.
You get soaked at the end, because you go down the big massive slope at the end, and you get soaked.
Oh, maybe I do remember.
Because you wear ponchos.
It's opposite the Mummy ride, isn't it?
You
I know where it is.
You have to purchase a poncho before going on the ride, otherwise you will be soaked.
It's down. It's down the bottom near the Mummy ride and near the effects stuff.
Yeah.
And backdraft. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know where it is.
Was it worth every penny that they spent on it?
I think it's pretty impressive. Jurassic Park,
I guess
the concept lends itself to a great ride.
Yeah.
And it preys upon that. Dinosaurs are coming out of ferns they're hidden behind ferns, and a raptor pops out and and they look impressive as well.
Yeah.
The animatronics are sensational, probably the best you're going to see in a ride.
In 2011, this company that's really come to the forefront in recent years, a video game company called Telltale. You heard of them, Brose?
No. Oh, yeah. Manufacturers.
They've reinvented the whole point and click, choose your own adventure video game concept that was developed a long time ago, but it sort of disappeared for a couple of decades and sort of made a comeback. And they've had a lot of success with recent Game of Thrones and Walking Dead games.
Oh, okay, yeah. Did they do the Walking Dead game that's on the phone? Is it the phone app one? That's
very good. It's the same game.
Yeah, it's very engaging.
But it's been released on all these different formats, all the consoles, the
Walking Dead one I played, and it's really engaging. And it reminds me of those LucasArts from games from the early 90s. Yeah.
So the Walking Dead and Game of Thrones are regarded as really good ones, and they've also done a Borderlands game based on the other Borderlands video games or something like that. But anyway, an average one of theirs apparently is Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
However, the reason I bring it up now is because their least successful one
is Jurassic Park.
Yeah, right. Which has been received quite poorly. It seems like they really missed an opportunity here, because the Jurassic Park franchise is very big and popular. So I think they just got the wrong team onto it or missed the point, because the game, it's not regarded as being very good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Jurassic Park was nominated and won its 3 Oscars that it was nominated for, all technical, of course. So it won Best Sound, Best Effects, Sound Effects Editing, when they had a separate category for that one.
Yeah, back in the day.
And Best Effects, Visual Effects, which is a bit of a no-brainer.
And well-deserved, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that went to Dennis Muren, Stan Winston, Phil Tippett, and Michael Lantieri. So, and a key name as well that I sort of touched upon briefly before in regards to the sound is Gary Reinstrom. Now, this guy is just the man. He's
done everything.
He's up there with we spoke about Ben Burt with Star Wars. He's up there with him as being an absolute legend of
And there's footage of him on the Blu-ray doing the sound design and stuff, and he's so creative and he's just incredible. He's a real sound nerd, and he nails it.
Yeah. But let's just do this, Brose. The Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy and Horror Films, our favourite here on Real Chat. Okay, this is what it won. Best Science Fiction Film, Best Director for Steven Spielberg, Best Writing for Michael Crichton and David Cope, and the Best Special Effects for the effects team. And it was nominated for Best Actress, Laura Dern, Best Supporting Actor, Jeff Goldblum, Best Supporting Actor, Wayne Knight.
Fair enough. He's
great. Sam Neill.
He's not there.
He gets nothing.
Best performance by a younger actor for Joseph Mazzello. Best performance by a young actress for Ariana Richards. Best music for John Williams. Best costumes to Sue Moore and Eric Sandberg.
Best lump of wood for Sam Neill, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there. How's that?
Gosh.
Well, that's intense.
What are the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy and Horror Films doing there?
Not fans of Sam Neill's work.
Obviously not. Sure. Yeah. Maybe he got one for Event Horizon a couple of years later.
Maybe looking at my eyes and my face, seeing.
Maybe we should do Event Horizon on Real Chat at some point.
Perhaps we
it's probably
should.
got quite a bit to talk about.
It's an interesting film.
It's actually got quite a legacy over time, but not for different reasons than a lot of other science fiction films.
I don't know if I've seen it. If I might have seen it when it was released.
Sam Neill's pretty creepy in that film.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It's a nasty film.
Yeah, it's nasty. Yeah.
Nice.
The Rotten Tomatoes website certifies Jurassic Park fresh with a score of 93%, 104 positive and 8 negative, and a very good IMDb ranking of 8 out of 10 as well. So Jurassic Park is considered by many to be one of the greatest films of the 1990s and in some cases of all time, as well as landmark in the vector of visual effects regarding its computer-generated imagery and animatronics. Janet Maslin of the New York Times called it a true movie milestone, presenting awe and fear, inspiring sights never before seen on the screen. On paper, this story is tailor-made for Mr. Spielberg's talents, but it becomes less crisp on screen than it was on the page, with much of the enjoyable jargon either mumbled confusingly or otherwise thrown away.
Goldblum's at times a bit of a mumbler, but still a charismatic mumbler.
In Rolling Stone, Peter Travers described the film as colossal entertainment, the eye-popping, mind-bending kick out of the jam's thrill ride of summer and probably the year. Compared with the dinos, the characters are dry bones indeed. Andrew and Stuart's favourite Roger Ebert noted, the movie delivers all too well on its promise to show us dinosaurs. We see them early and often, and they are indeed a triumph of special effects artistry. But the movie is lacking other qualities and it needs even more, such as a sense of awe and wonderment and strong human story values.
Oh, God, okay.
Roger.
Roger.
Empire magazine gave the film 5 stars, hailing it as quite simply one of the greatest blockbusters of all time.
Fair enough.
Here we go. So let's just wrap this up with our traditional 5-star review system, guys. So
let's start traditionally as we do with Andrew.
Thank you, Bruce.
How did you know he was going to say that?
Yeah.
Just popped into my head. Over the guess.
No, we are starting to repeat ourselves a little bit here.
We are starting to repeat ourselves a little bit here.
Have to look at
Yeah, just watching it again, I think you see it in two perspectives. You see it when you were a 13-year-old kid and it was just everything to you, and you see it now and you can look at it with a bit more of a harsher light. So between those two perspectives, I would say it's still a massively enjoyable film. I mean, if you get beyond the effects, which obviously are brilliant, there's a lot of intelligence in the script, and I think the chemistry between the lead actors is really helps the film outlast its effects, especially mainly Goldblum. I think he brings that sense of humour and slight cynicism to the film, which it really needs. Yeah, it's just a really well done blockbuster, and yeah, one of the last ones that Spielberg's done for a long time. So yeah, highly recommended. I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
Cool, good stuff, Bruce.
I think what this film does really well, and what it could have really messed up, is it does balance the human characters and the human story alongside the spectacle of reanimating dinosaurs. Now, this film obviously hasn't created dinosaurs from scratch, but it has reanimated, creatures that long since existed into a realistic kind of vision in the film. It could easily have just become a spectacle film, and it could have just been about these dinosaurs. And since then, documentaries have used the same technology to show us dinosaurs in their natural habitats and to explain dinosaurs to us as best they can. I don't know, it's phenomenal the way that Spielberg's done that, and he didn't have to do much more than that for this to be a hit film. I think he's done a little bit more than that. I think the characters are really well fleshed out, except for the couple that I mentioned earlier. I think the dynamic's really good. I think the casting is amazing. I don't think it's short shrift just to call this a monster film, or it's short shrift just to call it a blockbuster or an adventure film. It's a film. It's got a tight script, and it's really well crafted, despite the few inaccuracies. It's a good film. I'm gonna give it a solid 4 stars. Because it's good fun, and it does take the time to add those human elements when a lot of films now don't. They just keep barreling through.
There is like a hokey element to it, though, isn't it? Like I think I guess with our age, people kind of look at it with a little bit more of laugh at it a little bit more. Like there are some bits of it that are a little bit hokey and a little bit cheesy.
Yeah,
but that's all right because it's an older film now, so you kind of forgive it for those.
It's just so entertaining.
Yeah,
it's part of the enjoyment of the film.
I recommend it. If you're not a huge fan of blockbusters, this is one that's worth seeing.
Definitely.
And it's a good film.
Yeah.
Adam?
I'm going to give it. It's going to be 4 stars around the board. Yeah,
there you go.
A solid 4 out of 5. While the effects seem to get the most notice when looking at this film's legacy, particularly when it was initially released, seen now from a few decades' vantage point, it's actually the interplay between the human characters that delivers the bulk of the film's suspense and
I agree with that. Definitely.
Riveting energy. There are occasional missteps, and they mostly have to do with the 2 kids. who are alternatively sympathetic and then hideously annoying in scenes as well. So that's my main gripe with the movie. But these really are small concerns in otherwise completely engrossing experience. The franchise's quality does dip swiftly from here. But this one, taken by itself, it stands as one of the most iconic films of the last few decades. Not simply, as I said, not just because of its technological innovations, but for Spielberg's immaculate mastery of craft, and I think that's where this film succeeds majorly. Yeah, I highly recommend this film. I think it's a true summer blockbuster in the real true sense of the word.
It encapsulates a time in film when blockbusters were kind of they were fun and they were scary, but there was always that light touch.
Yep.
Whereas you couldn't really say that now.
Nah.
They've become very dark, very serious.
I think that the choice of that this film is a PG film or it's a family film really works in this film's favour as well. And it means they have to rely on other elements for the shock and other elements to keep the action rolling rather than more modern films, blockbusters, which are now more and more rated M or for older audiences. But I think that's a really good choice for this film.
So that pretty much wraps it up, guys. So thanks very much for coming out and discussing Jurassic Park with us. And we are going to be looking at the sequels in a couple of weeks' time as well. But and next up we're going to be looking at Toy Story. So
magnificent! What a great film!
Yes.
Another great film from the 90s.
That's exactly right, mate. So thanks very much, guys, and
no worries.
We'll speak to you guys soon.
See you later.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
That was weird. Stay in touch with us by visiting realchat.com.au. Check us out on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at realchatpodcast, Instagram real_chat_podcast. And if you haven't already, catch up with past episodes and subscribe to new episodes on iTunes.